Good evening, and welcome to another segment of the New Black Leadership Coalition here live in the great studios of Intellectual Radio. I am the host of the show, Gregory Sane. Stake your claim with Gregory Sane, and ain't no damn telling tonight what's going to come out of my mouth. I am blessed. We are blessed and honored to have with us on this wonderful, chilly evening, Dr. Professor Arthur. She was here last week, the one and only Kim Dulaney. And yes. And my brother, my friend, this brother is the extraordinary director, president of the great museum, the Pullman Porter Museum, the one and only brother David Peterson.
Appreciate it.
Here live in the flesh. So we should
just
have
introduce
a great
me as
show.
servant. David Peterson.
The servant. I know, but I got to give you are the servant, but you deserve the accolades and but all praise, as we always say, we have a good example in our founder of the New Black Leadership, Minister Brother Michael Muhammad, and all of us echoes that. All praise is due to Almighty God for giving us the strength, the capacity, the tenacity, the courage, the conviction, and more than anything, the love for our people and for humanity, to be a servant, to be a vessel, to be a conduit, to make a difference in such a falling world. And that's why I'm so thankful to the core mission and the beliefs and etc. of the New Black Leadership, that I have to always give credit where credit is due to all of the co-founders who are tuned in. And if you just tuning in, please share this live, because part two, like part one of a discussion that I think we must give some balance, but only the truth will set you free. So we're going to mix it up tonight. We're going to do part two with a friend, close friend of R. Kelly, Sister Dr. Kim Delaney, and we're going to talk about Brother David. I mentioned on Facebook and some other places, we're going to deal with politics and politricks. So we want to deal with both of them. But I want to set the tone for this discussion tonight. And I want to thank Sister Lisa. I call her, she's definitely one of the servants for Almighty God, and she knows this brother very well too, connected in many ways. But she gave me something that I felt like I should read, because it will connect with where we want to take this. Now, that which was called the irredeemable needs their redeemer. That which was considered hopeless and lost and beyond ability to save must be serviced today in the name of Him who is the Savior, who is Redeemer, who is the finder of that which was lost. He said, I didn't come to judge you. I came to save you from your sins. But then, quoting my teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said, not saving you from your sins, but saving you from the sins of white people that you have learned by your sojourn among them for 460 years. You never were in Africa. What you have become today, never. You're not yourself. You're a white person in black skin, and therein is the critical choice facing black people. That's from the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan. Then lastly, he said, niggas are the products of white people. So when we call this man a monster, Be careful with your judging, because you really don't understand those 9 long months of black people being like in a casket in the slave castles. 9 damn months. 9 months. Imagine if you have claustrophobia, right? 9 months. Then when you get out of it, you get beat. You get beaten. Those who didn't die in the ocean, drowning to death, the ones who did make it through that were beaten and treated in the most inhumane way ever. No other people have gone through the trauma of black people. And so when you don't understand all of these things, because some of you all think you have escaped, but your behavior and your mentality in your spirit means that you think you have, but you've been beaten up every day, and you turn on yourself, family, and community. And that's why it's so easy for us to condemn one another, because we don't really understand the trauma that has happened to us. And so be careful. And you know, Brother David, I have to share this, and you don't have to clean it up. David said, you know, I'm gonna let Kim do all the talking when it comes to the R. Kelly thing, because you know it's a what do you call it? Huh?
It's a slippery
slope.
Yeah.
Well, it's a slippery slope because many of us who are dealing with any issues in our community are not in our right mind any damn way. I mean, you like to refer to yourself even as African. I'm woke. I'm this, and yet you still wear the name of the man that beat the hell out you, and don't even wear it. Not in your consciousness. You don't even think about it. So I'm not going to spank you, but I want you to understand that we have with us this evening a sister who absolutely is well learned, and she said something, and I think you can go right into your spirit of her book. She gets requests every single day from Amazon, etc., to buy her book, and the name of her book is Starstruck. And a lot of it in that book is about R. Kelly and many, but your relationships. I mean, folks call me, text me, and said, this sister really know him like that? She spoke with him before she even came on the show. Not that day. Not directly.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak with Rob right before I come on here. I didn't tell Rob I come on here because I want to stand on my own thoughts on myself. You get what I'm saying? So Rob is my friend.
Have you spoke with him since the show?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it. So
talk about what? Me
talk about not so much you speaking to him, because after the show, there was still chatter out there, you know, talks out there. So from your perspective, Sister Kim, I heard one person say that, you know, when you talk about Michael Jackson, or you're talking about R. Kelly, or some people say, don't make this thing it's all about lynching R. Kelly because the man is a monster because of what he allegedly, you wasn't there. So if you saying you know for sure, stop it. Oh, I saw the video. Bring me something new as it relates to us trying to figure this thing out so that this brother can get some help. So these sisters can get some help. Absolutely. Because we have to deal with what transpired allegedly, or what somebody admitted to or did not admit to. All of our people need help, and our babies need help, and our girls need help, and our females need help, and they should be supported, and we should be pissed, and we should be angry, and we should feel a certain kind of way when it comes to that particular violation. But not to get inside somebody's bedroom to deal with somebody being so-called freaky, because there's a bunch of freaks. And people's like, well, don't mix up the priest with this. Don't mix up Weinstein with this. Don't say that, that ain't got nothing to do with it, that the guy who owns Lifetime got charged with being a pedophile. Don't even mention it. It ain't got nothing to do with it. They ain't got nothing to do with it, that most of his friends and buddies in Hollywood, they all guilty of the same thing. No, they ain't got nothing to do with R. Kelly, because that's them. Don't mention the fact that the priests who got busted, all of them had 500 boys apiece. Don't deal with that. That ain't what we talking about. We dealing with R. Kelly. So you ain't got to mention any of that. You ain't got to mention Trump, who said, grab him by the stuff. That ain't got nothing to do with it, or Bill Clinton in the White House. None of that got anything to do with R. Kelly. Let's talk about R. Kelly, Sister Kim.
Okay, so first, there's a few things you said, so I had to grab some paper, take notes. First of all, I'm on a show to discuss not as Rob's friend, because that's a personal relationship. So that tempers, of course, what I say. But I'm a professional. This is
absolutely.
I study Black people, Black culture. I'm also a trauma specialist. So this is what I do. And then the fact that he's my friend might give me broader insight, right, or personal insight. The reason I actually this is the only place I've talked about this whole issue with you all, just because for me it's a safe space. But I don't talk about it because it's personal. So I have certain kind of feelings about Robert. That's my friend of almost 30 years. You know what I'm saying? So I recognize that I might have a bit of bias, and because I've seen things and I know him, as I said last week, in a certain kind of way that's favorable for me. Right. So I don't see him as the public sees him completely. But as a professional, that's what I'm talking from. As a professional, I heard you mention trauma. I think that's very interesting, right? So for me, there's no real healing going on right now, though there's a lot of attention given to the whole issue. Now, what I think could come out of it, there's a lot of conversation. So we're revealing the thing a little bit. But for the R. Kelly situation in particular, there was no healing coming because for him or for the other people who are involved in the situation, because you first need a safe space. So when there's a fight going on and there's a battle, everybody's battling. It's a battle. So it has become like a media circus, right? I'm wondering, like, everybody, it's just a media thing now. And it's not, although people feel for, and what a beautiful thing it is that people are feeling for women and siding with Black women. That's
absolutely.
That's a beautiful thing, because that rarely happens. But it gets misdirected somewhat. It's not even about healing. It's about it is about grabbing and punishing. It's not about healing. For me, there was a collision of brokenness. This whole big story, and this giant story, there's a collision of brokenness. Robert is not the only broken person, because again, he's not known for snatching anybody off the street. Nobody has made that claim. Nobody has made a claim that he forcefully did anything to anybody, like raped somebody or snatched them off the street, held you for real, locked up with the doors physically locked so you couldn't get out if you tried. So you have to have people be convinced to willingly partake, right? Which is a different kind of situation. It is a different, although it's being conflated and made into one thing, it's a different kind of situation. And so for me, there's this, because you had to be broke to partake in that. You had to be broke for you to tell me to sit in this room, as they say, and stay here for 3 days and don't give me no food. I have to be broke to stay there if I could leave. If I could leave out, I had to have some brokenness to engage in that. I had to have some brokenness to engage. And when you listen with an unbiased ear, you hear brokenness all throughout the story from all of the people. You hear that they were broken when they met each other. They were broken when your parent agreed to that. You wanted to be a star. So there are immediate issues, and I understand the concern for the immediate issue is, like I always say, if somebody is attacking me or doing something that's harming me, then the first thing is to get them up off me. So that's the first call, like, hey, make it stop right now. Then we want to figure out, how'd you get in here? What's going on? Then we want to figure out the other thing. So there are some bigger conversations that need to be got to about brokenness and about being broke too. You know what I'm talking about? We want to talk about abuse of power. So when we talk about abuse of power, there's power in fame, right? There's power in financial wealth. There's also power in sex. So we want to talk about people abusing their sexual power, and women, and him abusing his financial power. Both of those are abuses of power. If it is a slippery slope, as they say. It's a slippery slope because if I am aware that that you got a particular liking towards sex and my body as a woman. Women, that's why we had a field of prostitution and stuff. We have these fields where women, that's an abuse of power too. If I use that power on you, then completely blame you. I'm abusing that power with you as well. And then you're abusing your financial power. I'm going to give you some money. I'm going to give you some fame. Both of those are abuses of power. Both of those are collisions of brokenness, right? So everybody got what somebody else needs and is using that power. Everybody involved is using that power to try to get up. But if we look at what's consistent in there, it's the theme of brokenness, of us not having agency, us not having money, us not having another way to be and exist, right? Or brokenness and sexual violation. Several of the women have said that they were sexually violated as well. So this is a whole culture, a whole, experience kind of related culture where people meet and they don't have clear lines. You get what I'm saying? Because they've been disrupted by other people's behavior. So I want to talk about trauma and healing trauma. I also want to talk to you all about, and collision and brokenness. I also want to touch on that slippery slope. I'm wondering, with men, this conversation has been really hard because when we say slippery slope, I'm wondering what y'all mean. I think men, to be honest, feel the slippery slope of their own personhood because most men have engaged in some way. You get what I'm saying? So I don't think men are really clear. I don't think women are clear. We're on what the lines are. We know to be appalled if you say child. If you say child, we're gonna get mad. When you talk to people about people who are of legal age, then it gets murky. People not really sure about what that is. Some men not really sure even about child. They start talking about how the one girl act, how she I think there needs to be education about, because women are ready if they look ready. And that's not a real thing. Mentally, girls are not women, and they're not ready just because they are of a certain size or even a certain style, or dressing in this age. So I think I'm curious to know what that slippery slope thing is, and I really think we need education.
And I'm curious to know, when do you know you ready?
Right. These are real conversations. When do you know?
I want to know because
when it becomes about
circumstances force people to mature, to grow up in different conditions. And at one point, we look back in history with our moms, our aunts, our sisters, and relatives, and how they were able to function. When you look at the word brokenness, dysfunctional, and stuff that people imposed on us. And then when I think about the color purple, and I look and that brother was considered a monster, you dig, because of how he dealt with what's her name? Seeley. And but when you look at that, it was abuse. He was broken and she was broken. But going back to the slippery slope, look, we'll be a damn fool to say, and it's not a disclaimer, it's not one of us even those on both sides can say, but there are some people say, I ain't never done nothing in my life as relates to human sexuality. We ain't talking about you if you've been in situations that have been abusive, because when you say child and when you say of the legal age and etc., and then it's a matter of some people gonna frown at you if they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 25, based on your age. They still gonna be looking at you. And even if you point out scriptures, if you point out scriptures, and then you're like, well, then you're gonna have to condemn Solomon, you're gonna have to condemn Muhammad, you're gonna have to condemn Jesus, you're gonna have to condemn Moses, you're gonna have to condemn
well in the state of Illinois, there's no statute of limitation anymore, so they might be coming for them.
Right.
You know, and they coming for everybody.
And we do need to, we might need to, when we talk about legality versus morality, right? We talking about legality versus morality. And just because it was done historic doesn't really mean it was right.
But is this all about that? Do the conversation, which is powerful with what you're saying, because if you turn the conversation academically to what you're dealing with in terms of trauma, this is profound what you're saying, but it gets lost because there's another agenda, and that other agenda is what's really dominating this. Nobody wants to deal with what you're talking about. So in order to avoid the slippery slope, then stay academic. You dig? And we could go ahead and deal with that. But then when you know there is an agenda, and anybody, you blind as hell if you don't think there's an agenda when it comes to black men. I don't give a damn who they are and how bad they are. He is the perfect candidate based on his life. All that went down with Aaliyah or with this one or with that one. But look, I've heard people say now that the man is spiritual. Some people go, how the hell he's spiritual? The same damn way David was spiritual in the scriptures. So stop it, but go ahead.
Well, again, that we talk about legality versus morality. And I think that because history is being rewritten right now with the whole Me Too era, Time's Up, Black Lives Matter, you know, with people harnessing their power, that new rules need to be written. And all of these fellas, including everybody I know, need to be made aware of what the new rules are, right? New rules need to be written based on things we didn't know. Right. When we talk about readiness and things like that, when we talk about a person having their full capacity to make decisions, that's research has been done about that. So now maybe, you know, I've been watching all of this and it's really, really, really crazy. And it's really disturbing because what we have to do is give people the rules, and then if they violate the rules, they get punishment. But what we can't do is switch the rules up on certain particular people and then do it in such a massive destructive way. So if we look at Rob,
like jail and no healing, what you say, jail and punishment,
but it's unfair. So if you say go legal age, and then somebody waits at the board of legal age and get everybody when they cross legal age, it's legal age. It's legal age. So to run banners across the sky saying get this person, to have the highest authority, punishable authority in Illinois or in Chicago stand up and say, hey, we don't have a case, we don't have anything, but y'all help me find something. Go out and dig up something and call me. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing, and we all should be concerned about that. Clearly, you want people to know that this is a safe space. If you have anything, if there's any validity to this, give it to us. But to like go out and pursue, to go by somebody, to follow somebody around, like go by their place of work, go by where they party and shut the place down for the weekend just because they were there. Are you kidding me? When there's no crime, where's the crime? You need a crime if there was a crime, especially with all this attention, there would be, it would be enforced. There would be punishment. So
we're not looking at that because
no
of
crime.
what's been allegedly.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's no crime. You see, when there's crime, they go get people, especially black people. They go get them if it's a crime. So now we're dealing with morality in a public space on such a high intense level. We're dealing with morality. We feel that's wrong with you, brother. Why you do that? That's moral. Legality says not yet. It's not wrong. So I think this is a special spot we're in where people can get the laws changed. If we know people not to be ready, let's push to change the laws. Let's say you can't. And I'm wondering where the line gonna be. Are we pushing it to 21? Are we pushing it to 25?
Yeah. But what did you say when they come out the house at 18, 19 and say, I'm not being held captive? Is something wrong with them? Because people say they crazy. He got a spell on them. It's a spell on a whole lot of you all if that's the case, because people stay in bad, domestically bad relationship abusively all the time. We ain't left America yet. Shit, something must be wrong with us. We've been getting the hell beat out of us, and yet we want to assimilate. See, you don't be no damn hypocrite. You want to take it deeper? Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper, because where you going is powerful, and it takes courage, and it ain't a slippery slope. It's the truth. It's the only thing gonna help all of us and set us free. We ain't got to be afraid to discuss nothing. And hell no, none of us are perfect. But damn it, God gonna be with you if he knows that you ain't some criminal.
But see, when there's a battle, right? When there's a battle and people are used to battling, then when there's a battle, if I walk up and there's a fight, then I got to choose. Can I break up the fight peacefully? Whose side am I on? And that's where you get people being divided, and it's not productive because everybody picking a side. Like, what side am I on? When we're unable to look at the whole situation, right? If there's something going on right now that's harming somebody, the first step is to stop the harm. And then we could look at and conversate reasonably about what we're dealing with. But I haven't heard any reasonable conversations. What I hear is not too many. What I really hear that's quite troubling for me is both sides. Both sides are really shows just how sick we are. Because one side is like, oh yeah, as if let's get him, and then we're gonna end because he's deaf. And I'm saying, who told you that? Why are you grabbing that and holding on to that? So absolutely, like, get him. Once we get him, it's over. He's gonna show. Why are you holding that? So absolutely, let's unpack this situation. Let's use this for real to look at all of it. Look at all of what's going on all the time. This is not. Let's look at the broke dude.
They didn't put a black face on all of this. The sad part of it, Bill Cosby face, Michael Jackson face, R. Kelly face. It's not Mr. Weinstein face. It's not the priest face. It's a black face. But David, I want to say this because I want to deal with this just a little longer. And because we got the doctor in the house, and we want to deal with politics and politics too. So we want to spend some time. It connects with that trauma. Also, all of this is interconnected in terms of where we are in the space that we are as black people suffering. But go ahead, David.
Yeah, well, I will say, as far as I'm concerned, I'm here to represent and interpret and break down the black agenda with our 7 items. You know what I mean? And that's one of the items. Health and wellness and mental health. So when I say it's a slippery slope, what I mean is I know that it's an emotional topic. Yeah. It's a topic that's going to cause a lot of conversation and exert a lot of energy. And very frankly, we're 44 days out from one of the most influential elections that's going to take place in the city of Chicago.
Teach on a distraction.
You see what I'm saying? So I feel that, you know what I mean? The majority of the sentiments centered around that topic are merely distractions. Particularly in the city of Chicago, because there's several missing girls out here right now, you know what I mean, that have been abducted against their will.
That's right.
that I feel like, people need to be looking for. There was the post office girl who was lost. And, I mean, there's a lot of different people out here. So I would really love to see more of that energy, on them as of right now. But once again, that's only one issue for me. We here because we 4 days out. It's game time. You know what I mean? And that's why we're here to talk about politics and politricks, because at the end of the day, because there's so many different personalities in these races, aldermanic and mayoral. I think that it's important that we stay focused and grounded on our purpose, on our agenda as a Black people, so that we can get the same thing that the other groups are getting when it comes to these people pandering to them. You know what I mean? We don't want elected officials pandering to us to just look like, come hang out with me, come take a picture with me. You getting in office, you know what I mean? And just to jump right in it, what is the Black agenda? 1, maintaining a safe community and public safety. 2, enforcement of educational excellence. You know what I mean? Making sure that our institutions are up to par and putting out the right information and preparing our next workforce. And that goes for, getting them ready for trades in addition to college. You know what I mean? Number 3, once again, health and wellness and mental health. You know what I mean? That's our that's what we're talking about, even with this whole R. Kelly piece.
Right.
Number 4, developing occupational skills and trades. Once again, going back to that educational piece. You know what I mean? Preparing people with these apprentice workshops, workforce development. You know what I mean? All of these things that's going to get the guy that's just standing on the corner who might not necessarily have the temperament to sit in the classroom all day, get him productive. You know what I mean? So he won't be outside being productive in the wrong way. 5, economic development through self-investment and government support. You know what I mean? So what does that look like? Using our political influence to create wealth as opposed to just focused on socialism. You know what I mean? It's time for us to blur the party lines, take a little something from over there and put it over here, because clearly what we've been doing isn't giving us the result that we want, or else everybody's everybody's dissertation on why they should be in office wouldn't be the same, highlighting the issues that are wrong with the city, primarily poverty. What's been going on? What's wrong? You know what I mean? Number 6, international tourism and cultural economic development, right? And I say that in 99.9% of the times it goes over people's head. But I'm gonna give you some numbers, right? So in 2018, there were 58 million visitors that came to Chicago. That's up 4% from 2017. So that's more than that's 19 million people more than 2011. 19 million more than 2011. That created 22,000 jobs in tourism and hospitality.
Wow.
You know what I mean? This is a sleeping
22.
This is a sleeping giant that we are not discussing. Everybody said we need more resources for the community, and it's a slap in the face when we have people up there representing a body of people in an elected seat who aren't articulate enough to be able to pinpoint what the issues are and get right to it. So what we're saying as the New Black Leadership Coalition, as this entire collective, is this is the standard. This is the conversation we want to hear. This is what we want you all to be focusing on, solution-based. We're not expecting you to have the solutions. We're expecting you to go represent the solutions that are already in place. You know what I mean? We're talking about decades of research and work on a local level, on the state level, on the federal level. We need someone to get in there and get to it. You know what I mean? I'm in the 9th Ward with the National A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum, America's first and only Black labor history museum founded by a Black woman. Shout out to Dr. Hughes.
I know that.
So in Roseland, there's a gentleman named Robert Douglas, right?
Yes.
So he created the Roseland Civic Engagement Study, right? This is hard facts, hard documents. You know what I mean? That's talking about what the problems are. So we're very clear on what the problems are in the 9th Ward. We don't necessarily need someone to continue to reiterate that. What we need is someone to say, hey, let's take this gentleman who's taking the initiative to do this, take his pedagogy and put it better to community. And how do we break this down? What type of programs can we make off of this? Absolutely. Now, we don't have nothing in the community. We don't have this. We're like, yeah, we know that. Thank you. What are we going to do to solve it? You know what I mean? Because, this right here, this is at least 3 or 4 years old, and this is the Millennium Reserve Plan. I always pull these things out just to keep the conversation constant. This is the South Lakefront Region Development Plan. So we're talking about McCormick Place all the way out to LaPorte County, Indiana, Lake Michigan connecting Lake Calumet. This entire South Lakefront region, all the way to the Dan Ryan, coming back eastern bound, is an area that's pretty much economically under siege right now. It is also ironically the place where the Obama Library Center is going to go. You know what I mean? So we understand the level of investment. They're about to start building some Jetson type buildings, all in the water coming up. You know what I mean? They got all type of stuff they're doing, and we are not talking about that enough.
Take back the black community.
We're not talking about that enough. We're talking about the slippery slope that I was. 6 different candidates. There's the incumbent Anthony Beale, number 60, Cleopatra Watson, number 61, Marcia Brown Williams, number 62, Paul Collins, number 63, Essie Hall, number 64, Rachel Williams, number 65.
That's for the Ninth Ward.
That's for the Ninth Ward. They've all been invited to our second candidate forum series. So we did one, we're doing another one, and that's going to be at 10858 South Michigan at Roseland Christian Ministries. So, you know, that's put together by Hands Around the Hundreds, hosted by Randolph's Dream Community Development Corporation, Hope Dealers, the New Black Leadership, Level Up and Vote, 10 by 10 to win. Because when we get out of there, we're going to plug into what Mark Wallace and them got going on. Because at this point, you know what I mean, we're implementing what we talked about at the New Black Leadership Coalition board meeting this week, the art of unity. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
As we stand on.
Yeah.
Our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. You know what I mean? So at this point, we're not afforded the luxury of trivial stuff. So, you know, while I could come on this show and talk about, you know, the different candidates and my personal feelings about them, there is no room for my personal views in this fight. I got to put that in the trunk and leave it there until after the election. What we're worried about is who is going to carry in to the Ninth Ward, to the city of Chicago, this black agenda with these 7 very, very, very easily laid out points of interest.
So is this a model?
This is
for the entire city.
This is a model for the entire city.
When you talk about unity, going back to what Sister Kim talked about in terms of understanding the layers. So I see layers in the other discussion, and I see layers in this. Black folks downstate partying right now. We know, you know, it's not a secret that the governor's race was bought. Once again, it was a white man bought it before. As a white man bought it, and he called himself a Republican. Now another white man buy it, that's a Democrat. And so, I mean, you buy it. And what's the whole point of buying it? We partying with them. They down there right now dancing to house music, etc. Will we rely on them pushing the needle or doing anything different that would change the reality for black people? Or do we do for self? We integrate, assimilate, or are we just unrealistic that we're never gonna be free? We're never gonna make progress as long as we rely on a system that's been concocted, no matter how good they make it sound, and how Negroes are down there dancing and smiling and profiling and skinning and grinning. Are you really pushing an agenda that would be so aggressive to the point that you open up doors and ways that black people can get reparation to do for self? Or are we just doing that so that we can get just a few more crumbs?
Let me add something. I think that the power is in helping us to understand how all of this is related, right? So David always does a good job of pointing us to the facts, right?
Yeah.
To the core of what really matters. And so I think that what happens is that people get excited by salacious stuff, right? But people don't understand how it's all related. So in that, when you talk about poverty is at the core of the other issue. Poverty is at the core of the issue surrounding R. Kelly, right? If I'm gameful, if I got my own money, do my own thing, and that's what I said last week. There are a lot of us who are friends with Robert Kelly, who we have our own money, we have our own power, and so we none of us have those stories. Not a one of us have those stories. I know in that circle, I met a girl who was dancing when I met her. She now has her doctorate. And she's a tenured professor. right? Following my model. I love it. I love it. You get what I'm saying? So when you give people agency and power, they do different. She doesn't have a story of victimhood. She and I go to yoga class, and we like where we don't know none of these stories. They surprise us because we again have our own power. So when we talk about poverty and we talk about politics is the power, right? And so when we talk about politics, it's directly tied to how people see themselves. Research also shows that in impoverished areas where people have no power, sex becomes their power.
Yeah.
That's why they have a million kids. That's why the dude in the hood got 12 babies, because he want to feel his manhood in some kind of way, and he can't get it no other way. This is real. This relates to all that. So we talk about poverty, and then when we talk about safe spaces, who's going to put things in, not just punitive things. Who's going to put in structural things? It's not. It's like, don't just pay for the prison. Who's going to pay for the schools? Who's going to put in structural things that will heal us, that will provide safe spaces so we can heal. We can heal like everybody else if we're given a safe space, but there's no way that you're going to tell, to be honest, a beautiful woman who has the capacity to eat every day and live decently, not to go with the dude who could provide that if she butt naked broke. It's not. It's no way that you're going to tell her. You could tell all you want to, but if she's broke, her family's broke, her whole legacy is broken. All she knows is brokenness, and she's not educated. She doesn't have any agency. She hasn't been taught to empower herself. She's gonna go with what this society has provided for her as a tool. And so it's tied to politics. We have to change these things. We have to give people jobs. We have to give people education. We have to change these politicians so we can change these situations and have safe spaces for real healing.
And not knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
Not knee-jerk reaction, because what David said connects exactly with what you're saying. Self-respect, dignity. Here's this man down there with history of not just the Ninth Ward, but a model that I know have taken place in other areas. But David, going back to what you were saying about the politics, but then
let's not go too far off of that. Let's not go too far off of that, because what she was saying is important. Centered around trauma.
Right.
When we think about unresolved trauma, when we think about unresolved grief, a lot of the animosity towards elected officials come from. You know what I mean? A lot of people who are running for office feel that some of us are coming down on them too hard, or they're too aggressive. Or what is it that you want? What's your underlying agenda? Why are you talking about me? Why are you saying that I'm not ready? Right? And they are not accepting that this is a result of trauma. You know what I mean? Many of us who lived in the Wild Hunters, you know what I mean? We've been losing people for decades over there. It's been a bloody bath over there. You know, I mean, there was a thing literally called the Bloody War 94. I was a child when that was going on, but luckily I made it through. It was kids my age, Yummy and all of them getting killed and stuff.
And the women.
And the women and the women too.
Just nothing.
So all of that trauma grows with you, right? Yes. And then you got to look in an area where you see nothing but vacant lots. Yes. You're in a food desert. All of these things make you bitter. Absolutely. And it's to a point.
That's violence. That's abstract violence.
And it's abstract violence. Yeah. It's economic violence. It's social violence. Mm-hmm. So when we think about all of these things, that is where this comes from. So that's why it's important that we package this interaction method, very, very structured with this accountability piece. Because if we don't do that, what happens is we'll go all off overboard. Yeah. We'll be ready to kill one of these people.
We will remain doing political game banging versus unifying.
Absolutely.
Because, when you think about, you said something right there that, man, the first thing I thought about, and no disrespect to some of our, not our real ancestors, but some of our big brothers and sisters who are ancestors in their own way and have been out here doing some work, but it seems to be a division. It seems to be a rift between that's called the old school and the new school. When you was talking about politics, I see apathy, but then I see a situation where I think Brother Lance Williams, one of the members, co-founders of the New Black Leadership, is no way under the sun. He should not be the president of North Eastern University, but then you see one of the brothers that we know and have some respect for, but really disappointed because when you hear the stories, you look, I need to hear his side, but based on what I've heard, it's like, ain't no way in the world Conrad World was standing in the way of this brother. So I'm saying that, connecting that, because some of these same people say they represent us, they get in these rooms, not David. David get in some rooms, but David got a brilliant mind. So the people that they allow in the rooms are people who sell their souls for just a small few chicken wings and not look at what they doing to last for generations to come. We gotta finally get this right. This is not a temporary struggle. I listened to Claude Anderson on Dorothy Tillman's show Saturday. The brand is brilliant, but at the end of his conversation with her, they did not talk about the model of Marcus Garvey and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I dare you act as though you have created a new will. Hell, that man, those men and other women have set models down for us, but we so damn envious and jealous and dead mentally Negroes that we ignore the wisdom that would take us over the top.
And I think that's important that you made that reference, because in that comes an ideology centered around business development, right? Marcus Garvey wasn't out. Marcus Garvey and they weren't out here marching saying, well, you're going to accept me. You're going to respect me. They were saying, this is what we're doing. Right. We dare you to get in the way.
That's right.
We dare you to get in the way of this, right?
That's right.
So if until we get sick and tired of being sick and tired, we're going to continue to do the same thing that yields the same result, right? And that goes all the way down to party affiliation and the policies that come with that, right? So listen to this. In the Ninth Ward, there are 37,240 registered voters, right? 18,705 Democrat and 195 Republican, 0 green, 0 nonpartisan. Right?
What did you say? 195 Republicans?
195.
Less than 200?
Less than 200 are Republican and 18,705 registered as Democrat, right?
Wow.
Now listen to this. 51 precincts were counted last election, right? For the municipal election. So the incumbent had 7,307, which was 62.42% of that 37,000. He only had 7,000, right? The person right under him, Michael LaFar, had 1,822, only 15.56% of the vote. Nooney Ward had 1,225, only 10.46% of the vote. And Ted Williams had 1,352, and there was one write-in which got 1%, right? So what I'm saying is, what is it that's consistently going wrong in our ward, in the Ninth Ward? Because you can drive through there and see in some places it looks like a third world country. What is consistently going wrong in there that is attached to these 18,705 Democratic voters that are running it out there? What is connected? What is the connection and what is the disconnect? We need to focus in on that with laser-like focus and break that down. That's what this Ministers of Accountability piece is about. That's what this Ninth Ward candidate series is about, because we are trying to get to the bottom of this so that we can't blame it on anybody. Because if Ronald McDonald become the next alderman over there, we want him to know that it's some explaining you got to do. We want transparency and we want access. And when I say transparency, I mean we want to know what is behind door number 1, 2, and 3, because that is an elected seat. We're not looking for a leader at this time. We're looking for someone to take the concerns of the community into an office and represent us. Yeah. That's the model for the office. We want somebody to get in there and just implement what the office is for. We don't want or need someone that's going to go in there and take their own personal interest into the office and use that as your spite tool. Oh, I didn't like that person. They were mean to me. I'm not going to help them. I'm not going to fund them. I'm going to cut them out. I'm going to badmouth them. We don't need that. We need someone with the temperament and the dignity and the respect and the integrity that says, I'm going to separate my personal from the overall good. So let me go out here and find out what you guys want and how can I help propel that to the next level. What's going on? How do I make it
think with Ed Burke, I want to say this, and then y'all can go back to that. You think the disarming to some degree of the power of Ed Burke's influence, will that give some of our brothers and sisters a I'm going to say leverage to the degree of a weak mayor, strong council, or you're talking about principles right now. And so how do you change the mindset of folks in terms of being a servant, David, or being a politician?
Well, that's why you got to come to the Ninth Ward Candidate Forum. You know what I mean? That's why you got to tune into the next episode of the New Black Leadership Coalition. That's why you got to come to the New Black Leadership Roundtable.
I don't think it's party based as much as it is
Part three.
Policy based. You got to look at particular.
That's right.
Don't turn the Facebook Live off yet. We got to do it out there because we got another show.
No,
folks, look, I swear to God, I did not know we was up on the time.
Turn it out. How you turn
Thursday, January 17, 2019, 108-58 South Michigan.
Quarterly Roundtable is coming up. You'll hear more information about it. Thank you all for tuning in. Please share this. Please share this. We're gonna finish this out there. You want to finish this outside? Facebook Live. Don't turn it off.